Hey, what is up, guys? Flex Media here, bringing you yet another video on Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. So this is our boy. This is free-to-play Cumber. Now, we are going to be running him in the Legendary Goku event. I really feel like this is going to be kind of the best place to showcase him. But he does a lot, so I kind of just wanted to go over his card real quick before we hop in. So, number one, he is a free-to-play Dragon Ball Heroes category leader at Key +3 and then 50% to stats. So that's good, I guess, like if you are, let's say you just want the buff. So how do I, like the increased drop rate or the increase in drops during those Dragon Ball Heroes story events. So that would be really nice to run him if you didn't summon on anything and you just had free-to-play options. So anyway, his super attack is the Disaster Eraser. Raises attack and defense and causes supreme damage. You know, pretty standard stuff. So he stacks attack and defense infinitely. So that's what's going to make him so good on this Legendary Goku event. And I say so good, and I'm talking relative to like other free-to-play units. He's very, he's good. He's good. He's not, LR Gohan good, or he's not like LR Gohan and Goten good. But he's still pretty damn good. So let's go over his passive because it gets a little confusing. So he's giving himself Ki +2, attack and defense +50%, and he's giving all extreme class allies attack and defense after he attacks, and then super class enemies attack and defense -20% after receiving an attack, and he launches an additional super attack within the same turn after receiving an attack as the first attacker in a turn. Okay, so that was a mouthful. So essentially, in a nutshell, what they're telling you is to run him in the first slot. Because after he attacks, he then becomes a support type unit. Attack and defense +20% to all allies. So that's really, really nice. And then after he receives an attack, he's going to debuff the enemy. So that would be good, like in Super Battle Road, where you lower attack. But unless you get him quite a few stacks of his defense, he's just going to still take too much damage. It just kind of is what it is. Certainly in any other events, he's going to be pretty good. Dokkan events too. You just definitely want to have him in the first slot if you're running him. Otherwise, a lot of his abilities are really going to kind of be, they're not really going to be effective, right? So it's like if you put him in the last slot and he super attacks, it's like, oh, big deal, because you're not getting his support type ability. You're not debuffing the enemy. You're not going to be able to launch guaranteed additional super attacks. So it's really, really going to benefit you if you put him in the first slot. So you can kind of see his links there. He has an awful lot of key links. So he's got, Saiyan Lineage, Fear and Faith, Prepared for Battle, Shattering the Limit. I mean, he's just a key machine. And then not to mention he gives himself 2 keys. So, I mean, if you basically get him 1 additional key link, he's going to auto super. And then he's also on the Pure Saiyans, the Time Travelers, and the Dragon Ball Heroes. As I said, we're going in on the Time Travelers team. So, enough fooling around. Let's get started. So, here we are. We are in the Legendary Goku event. And there, again, I just went over his details, and it was only because there's kind of like a lot to go over, so I just wanted to make sure that I got it right. So as you guys can see, we're definitely on the Time Travelers team here, led by INT Goku Black, who is a good unit for this event. Particularly, I would say you'd want him at the Rainbow Star level, or, close to it. Mine has 2 dupes, so I think that would probably work as well. I mean, as you guys can see, like, I probably more than likely wouldn't post this video if we lost, so spoiler alert to the end, but we do manage to get through it, although it gets a little dicey. But INT Goku Black, man, so he's one of these units that I want so bad for him to be good. So number one, he's Goku Black, right? So he's just like one of the coolest enemies that's ever graced a television screen. You know what I mean? He's quite literally like, I mean, he's just like pure evil in Goku's body. You know what I mean? He hates all mortals. I mean, you guys know the story, of course, of Goku Black. So I want for him to be good for that reason. And then number 2 is, like, when he transforms, he is quite good. So kind of just going over his, you know, his abilities real quick. First off, right now we've got our boy Cumber, who the showcase is on. We've got him in the first slot, and you can see that he's not really ramped up yet, right? So, you know, right now his so we got him just the guaranteed additional, and then that was it. But so oftentimes you'll see when you have him in the first slot and then he gets attacked, you'll get him 3 super attacks. And when you get him 3 and you stack up that defense 3 times, he becomes pretty good defensively. So throughout the course of the event, I mean, he gets, I would say, 20 plus super attacks. I mean, he gets that many supers. So even at his pretty low free-to-play stats, he's actually going to defend pretty well. I mean, he's going to heal pretty well on same-type orbs. I mean, you guys know the deal. So anyway, let's kind of go over the rest of the team, and we'll kind of just sort of passively watch, you know, Cumber with this Time Travelers team. So let's start with the team leader. The Time Travelers leader at attack, HP, and defense 150%. And that is, like I said before, INT Goku Black. So he's very, especially for this event, he's actually quite good. Now, one thing you'll notice right here is we're actually already kind of at low health. We're already kind of behind the 8 ball here, so it's not exactly pretty so far. And the one thing I should have done is, I believe if I would have healed up, then we would have got the Goku Black transformation. I could be wrong, I could have miscounted, but we would have got the transformation because, well, okay, let's go over his card first. So number 1, he greatly stacks defense on his super attacks. He is one of just a handful of cards in the entire game that infinitely stacks defense, like when you greatly stack it. So I believe it's, I think him and like Super Mira or something like that. I think that they're like the only 2 units in the game that do it. So I mean, you get him, you know, in this event, you get him 9-10 super attacks. I mean, he's just a, you know, he's hard to handle, right? So, and right now, every time he's getting hit, he's actually stacking crit. So, I am a poet and I didn't know it, by the way. But, yeah, so he stacks crit up to 40% in this sort of pre-transformed form. So I did decide to heal up, and then we were able to kind of stonewall him here. And then we get the transformation next turn. So, like, the main thing you notice about INT Goku Black when you use him is deep in events, he's quite good. So in both forms, he's greatly stacking the defense, so that's really nice. However, that's the only defense he gets, is the stacking ability of his defense. So, you know, his passive right off the rip, he starts off at only attack plus 40%. So like you guys saw on his first super attack, he's hitting for like 500k. You know, and then every turn for 3 turns, he stacks his attack. So he gets 40%, and then the next turn he's at 80%, and then the next turn he's at his maximum at 120%. Now, here's one of the coolest transformations in the game, and I believe this is a double transformation. Yes, it is. So, so that's kind of an unfortunate part about his card. If he started out even with just a defensive buff, I could handle his low attack stat, right? And then if he ramps up his attack, you know, et cetera, right? So his transformation conditions are bonkers. So let's go over that real quick. So to get him to even transform, number 1, 6 turns, which is like, bro, what event other than this one are you ever in for 6 turns plus? The answer is next to none. I mean, other than this event, good luck getting him to transform. He's one of those dudes you definitely do not want to bring in the battlefield because it takes him so long. I mean, he's just like, he's a slow burn, you know, and then all of a sudden he's got 400,000 defense and you're like, oh, okay, this is why I brought him. You know, so if 6 turns wasn't bad enough, guess what else? You have to be 80% HP or above. So if you're in an event for 6 turns, I mean, I guess I don't really know the answer to this, but what are the odds of you being above 80%? I mean, let's just say you were in Super Battle Road and you're up against one of those very difficult bosses at the end, like Vegito or the Gogeta or the Broly. I mean, you guys know who I'm talking about if you've run Super Battle Road. But these like huge bosses at the end that take forever to take down, you know, they can do a fair amount of damage to you. So the odds of you being there, I mean, it's crazy. His transformation conditions, excuse me, are crazy. And that's the other part of it, of the deal, right? Now, after he transforms, he's actually, he really does take a step up in my book. So he just straight up gets 150% attack, which is, quite good. Still no defensive buff, although, keeping in mind that he's already stacked defense for 6 turns. So he'll have some defense. And then he actually gets just straight up a 50% chance to crit. So just like LR Fizz Trunks, right? So he's very good once he transforms. And to be quite honest, he's kind of built for this event. Before I think Bandai and Akatsuki ever planned on making an event like this. So him greatly stacking, the chance to crit, it's all made for this event, right? Because at later portions of this battle, as you'll see, if we're not critting, we're just straight up, we're on the precipice of dying. I mean, you have to start to be able to do crits, or you're not going to be able to. He's gonna, UI Goku will outpace you if you can't do crits. And that's why there's this whole thing. I actually kind of want to make it. I think it merits a video. I want to make a video on this whole 3 dodge thing. Like, is 3 dodge or... Wow, I do not know what happened on that Dokkan mode. Wow, that was pathetic. But like this whole 3 dodge thing and like giving your units full additionals, barely any crits, you know what I mean? It's like, I get it. Like, you want to give your units full additional so they can stack their defense or stack their offense really high. But against some of the more challenging events in the game, obviously this one, Infinite Dragon Ball History, and definitely Super Battle Road, you have to be able to do crits. You just have to. If you want to do any significant amount of damage, you got to be doing critical hits. So, I think that there's something to be said about giving, prioritizing certain things in the potential system. So, prioritizing additional is okay. Prioritizing dodge is okay. Those types of things, or 3 dodge. 3 dodge probably isn't too big a deal. But like when I hear people saying, oh yeah, I gave my unit full additional, and it's like, why'd you do that? Because basically what you've done is you've handcuffed your unit to only be able to do one thing, and that's stack defense. And it's just like, so you unless they're like, I guess you could say if they're an STR unit, and you give them that like plus, because they automatically get that +5 in the potential system. But I really don't like the idea of handcuffing my units to be able to only do one thing, unless they are literally only designed to do one thing. So like giving support units dodge, full dodge or 15 dodge or whatever, is probably fine because they're not going to be doing big damage anyway, even with a crit. As you can see, that INT Goku Black, man, getting him having those crits is so clutch. So I don't remember if this is a turn where we get a triple super, but as you can see, we're getting to that point in the fight now, shit starts to get real against God Goku. So you can, number one, no longer lower his attack. And truthfully, like, the damage he does to your units really just seems to be taken up a notch. And we've almost got Cumber, he is slowly kind of approaching that 1 million attack stat. There he is at up over 800,000. So, and there, see, we got a crit, and that's good. And there's INT Goku Black, the rainbowed one, at like 2.37 million. So quite good, right? Quite good. And just a beautiful super attack. And again, there's the crit, baby. That's the power of the critical hit. And that's why it's such a shame, like this INT Cell. My INT Cell in particular, he does not have any crit in the potential system because, hey, guess what? Yeah, I only have one single copy. I've never pulled a dupe of him. To no fault of my own, you know, is what it is, right? Now, this is, again, so we can kind of go over INT Cell a little bit. I mean, we've been over him a bunch of times in the past. So LR INT Cell, straight up, he gets 80% attack and defense, which is good. You know, when you're talking about big LR stats, you know, 80% is good. And then he also gets an additional defensive buff the more HP you have, so up to 80%. So this dude could have up to an additional 80% defense, so 160% if your HP is really, really high. And then he's also getting Ki +1 and attack +20% for any amount of enemies over 1, basically. So multiple enemies, he's going to have higher attack stats. So that's really cool too. That's obviously, you know, doesn't affect us in this event in particular. But definitely in Super Battle Road is where he's going to be the most effective. In the, I suppose, the rare Dokkan event where there's multiple enemies, but again, those are rare. Like what the cooler event is one that comes to mind. I can't even really think of any more other than that. I believe that was an additional super, so that's obviously really helpful, stacking his defense up. And again, the critical hit. Speaking of LR INT Cell, we actually managed to pull this off. This is not easy to do, guys. So you have to get below 30% HP for this thing to go off. So now once he falls below 30% HP, number one, he fully heals you. And then this is kind of where he gets sort of bananas, right? So he's getting Ki +4, attack and defense 120. I mean, that's just already really good, right? And then he sort of has kind of a nuking passive, although it's not exactly that. But he gets an additional attack and defense +20% when he gets 4 Ki Spheres. And then when he gets 6, he gets another attack and defense +20%. And then he gets another attack and defense +20%. So when he gets, I'm sorry, at 8 Ki Spheres. So when he gets 8 Ki Spheres, so you can kind of start doing some math, he's going to be getting, what, 180% attack and 180% defense. So if you can, in any given situation, you for sure want to get him as many Ki Spheres as possible. So you saw there, we did actually get him 8 Ki Spheres. You know, the only problem was, I think we only had Fierce Battle active. So, you know, it just kind of is what it is, right? If we would have got that on the other rotation where Cumber is giving us support, or even if we have a support unit on rotation, he's going to be hitting for some really, really nice damage. So like on the Androids team, you know, if you're getting him 8 or more Ki Spheres, excuse me, and you're running the LR androids and they're giving him, what, 40% attack? Okay, so he got hit very, very hard right there. Keep in mind, type disadvantage, no item active, just, you know, and not exactly fully built up yet. Now, he's getting there. I do periodically check his defense throughout this event, and we couldn't quite get that third additional super attack with just the additional normal. But anyway, guys, so LR Cell, I always want you guys to keep in mind, especially if you get a dupe in him, man, and we're going to see, not next turn, but the turn after, we're going to see his active skill. And, okay, so is this it here? This is it. So we're going to get his active skill right here, I'm pretty sure. And I also maintain that this is the best active skill in the entire game. Keep in mind, however, he has not got any sort of support type buff yet. You know, just because Cumber hasn't attacked yet, right? So after he attacks, he then provides that buff to your allies. So some of the heroes units are just kind of have wonky passives like that. You know, so no big deal. So that didn't do a ton of damage, and again, there's no potential to crit. So he just raised his own attack as well. On super attacks, he's going to massively lower defense. I mean, the more and more I use Cell, I get that he is maybe the least impressive Dokkan Fest LR. I do understand that sentiment. Like, I get it. But also, it's like, so here's the 6 key sphere deal. So we can kind of see what he's capable of right here. But I maintain, guys, that he is very, very good. Even dupless, he is really, really good. And then here's Cumber getting another super attack. Do we get the third? We do not get the third, but that's okay. He's tanking for double digits. And I believe he does for the remainder of the fight. His defense is high enough now. INT Goku Black seemed to be a pretty good linking partner with Cumber. Specifically, they shared Fear and Faith. And actually, at first, I thought they shared Brutal Beatdown, but they do not. There he is, 3.62 million. Again, we do have a little bit of support on rotation with the Cumber. But that is big, big damage. And we just massively lowered STR UI Goku's defense. So okay, so let's kind of move on, though. I could talk about LR Cell all day. So how about this SS3 Xeno Goku, who I've really, really come to like. He just continues to impress me. So specifically on this team, he's going to be really, really good. He's shattering the limit there with LR Vegito Blue, who of course we will go over soon. But that SS3 Xeno Goku, I talked about him in my last couple videos, but he's getting number one, he gets attack and defense 100%. And he gets an additional 50% attack on super attacks. So that's pretty cool. And then he has his guard active against all types. So even including STR, which would usually do neutral damage, it's doing even less damage. So 15k is not spectacular. But keep in mind, he only has one additional Dragon Ball Heroes ally on the team. And that brings me to my next point about that Xeno Super Saiyan 3 Goku, is of course he's getting that damage reduction. For every Dragon Ball Heroes ally on the team, he's getting 7% damage reduction. So defensively on the right team, this dude's not taking any damage. If we ran more of a Dragon Ball Heroes-centric Time Travelers team, I mean, he could be getting up to 35% damage reduction. So he can get up to 35% is his maximum. And in theory, you could do that even running the Time Travelers team with INT Goku Black as your leader. So he's really, really good. I don't think on this team we can get him up over 2 million attack stat, but so for instance on Pure Saiyans or on Goku's family or any of those other teams he's on, Kamehameha, you get him linked up with a support unit, he's doing a 2 million attack stat, so he's pretty good offensively as well. And he also stuns, so that is null and void on this event where the enemy can't be stunned. But on Super Battle Road, man, I mentioned it in my last video, he's just like a Super Battle Road murderer is what I called him. He really, really is. But kind of going over the rest of the team here. So here we go, TEQ Trunks, right? So he's in his transformed state right now. And before he transforms, to be honest, he's anything but impressive. He's just attack and defense 100%, and then he stacks attack, right? No big deal. But after he transforms, guys, I mean, they say that he's one of the best units for this event, and he for sure is. He's quite good. Quite good. So basically, he is going to be, number one, stacking attack and defense on super and causing immense damage. So that's always really nice, right? Any Dokkan Fest exclusive TUR is going to be doing immense damage, so that's nice. But then his passive is kind of where it gets crazy. So he's attack and defense 120%, so really nice. Just right off the rip, he's even pretty good. But then he stacks key up to 4, and then he stacks attack and defense 10%, up to 80% attack and defense. So essentially, for the first 8 turns, And that is at the start of each turn, by the way. So essentially for 8 turns, assuming you're getting him super attacks, he's double stacking attack and defense. So that's what makes him so damn good. And then after that 8-turn threshold, he's not going to be stacking it as fast, but he's still going to be stacking it on super attacks. So, you know, him having that, it's kind of, it's similar to like what LR Gohan and Goten do, or like, of course, like LR AGL Gohan. Like, it's similar to what they do. He's really, really solid, guys. And for this event specifically, he's just built for it, right? And there's Cumber finally up over 1 million. It did take us till STR UI Goku to get there. There he is again. I mean, obviously it's not going to be any lower. Now, we couldn't get, again, I mentioned earlier, like, we couldn't get him Brutal Beatdown, so this is not like the extent, 100% extent of his power. But this is probably going to be the best team we can run him on. I suppose you could link him up with... does TEQ Broly have Brutal Beatdown? He might. I don't know. He might. But there are very few, like, evil Saiyan cards. You know what I mean? So, or, like, extreme Saiyan cards. They're mostly all super types. So, we finally moved on to INT UI Goku. Now... there's one unit we have not talked about yet, LR Vegito Blue. But let me tell you guys, we are already kind of running low on items. So okay, it looks like I decide not to use one here because our defense is high enough. I believe that was after an Android 8. So we're already out of Android 8s. I think I've already used like an Icarus. So we are, to be honest, I feel like... It's not looking too great at this point, but I'm just going to keep going until we die, basically. And I probably would have posted the video, I mean, to be quite honest. Just because we came this far, and I think we've shown that this dude can be effective in this event. So him being able to get over 1 million attack stat. Now, again, this is not raw. I do believe we had... an item active, so it's not going to be absolutely raw. Yeah, 200. Maybe it was. Huh? Maybe it was. Maybe we had just got the. You know what happened? We had just got the Dokkan attack, and that's why our health was full. Okay, that makes sense. So, and I just opted to not use an item because I was running low on items at this point. And at certain points, man, in this challenging material, you just have to risk it. You know, you have to. And then there's LR Cell, man, just doing work. Just doing work. 4 digits in this event on normals is really, really nice. But anyway, moving on to LR Vegito Blue. To this day, I believe he is 2 years old at this point. And to this day, he's still one of the very, very best units. #1 for this event. But just honestly, he's like one of the best units. I love using him. I can't say he's one of the best in the game, but for sure free to play, I would say he's the best. Oh, TEQ Trunks over 2 million. Very nice. But LR Vegito Blue. So #1, he stacks attack and defense. And keep in mind, he is an LR, so he's getting that colossal damage multiplier. And, of course, Mega Colossal on 18 key. Now, for the majority of this event, when I can, I just, you know, get him as 12 key. But then you'll see that later in the event, I kind of discovered that he's going to be one of my primary damage dealers. So I got to start getting him 18 key supers because, you know, ain't no one on this team doing any damage right now. We just barely have 2 health bars gone. And we're running low on items. We're running low on HP. It's just really not looking great for us. Now, this rotation here is actually pretty damn good. You know, you see that other INT Goku Black. One of them had less than 200k defense, which for sure means we die on a super attack from INT UI Goku. So there we are. We have 1 Princess Snake and 2 Whis items left. So our defense is high enough where we wouldn't completely die with a Whis active. So when I think we do end up getting supered, and obviously we survive. But anyway, moving back to LR Vegito Blue. So he's getting attack and defense plus 80%. I already mentioned his stacking capabilities. So, but he's getting that attack and defense 80%. And then he's getting a key boost Now, the less HP you have, the more ki you'll get, and I don't know the exact thresholds right off the top of my head, but you can get up to 10 ki from his passive. So, you know, late in events, or like if you're really low on health, you know, him being able to blast, you know, pretty much blast the opponent to Kingdom Come with a 24 ki super, that's a really, really nice feature of him. Now, one thing I would say that not necessarily like I guess it does kind of hold him back a bit. He doesn't have a ton of attack like I guess he does. He's got Super Saiyan, he's got Warrior Gods, but no Fierce Battle, which it just, again, to me, that solidifies his status as free to play. People still to this day try to argue that he isn't free to play, and I just don't get it. And there we go. We use our last Whis item right here. But I mentioned this in a previous video, so if you guys didn't catch that one, but there actually was debate as to whether or not he was free to play. And this has to do with, so how you get him is you have to have certain amounts of fierce battle units of every type, I believe, you know, to get the Potara medals. I believe you had to have 6 on your team for some of them. So, you know, obviously 6 of each of the, are there 5 types? So that's why it was even a debate, because a lot of free-to-play units don't have fierce battle. As a matter of fact, most of them don't. So it was tough to find, you know, wow, 3.62. We did get him a ton of key spheres, didn't we? So that's a very impressive attack stat from him. I guess, yeah, it could be higher. So anyway, guys, but LR Vegito Blue, is still one of the very best. And for sure that this event, he's, again, still one of the very, very best. And this is the point where I'm like, damn, dude, I got to start doing some damage to this guy. So we get him almost a full 24 key super, and we heal up a bit with our STR orbs. And at that point, 300,000, I mean, he might take like 5 digits on a super, but we're not going to die. If any of these guys get supered, we're not going to die. So that was a really comforting thought, you know, when we were in this late stage of the game. I could have built the team a little differently. Him not getting crits is so unfortunate, because at only a 1.3 million attack stat, that just ain't cutting it against UI Goku, man. You gotta be much higher, and that dodge really, really hurt. And then he dodged again. You know, I know I'm not the first person to mention this for sure, but sometimes UI Goku, man, in this event, he can just completely and utterly take control. He's got this knack to just know. He just knows when you really, really need that super attack, or you really, really need that critical, and he'll dodge it. Or like crit counters, he dodges. You know, it's just like one of those things. Now I decided to go to the active skill here. So Trunks becomes super effective against all types, and I believe he gets what does he get? So he's getting attack plus 30% per key sphere, and then defense plus 10% per key sphere obtained. So I just thought, and we literally don't get anything to switch, or anything significant to switch around, but I thought with having all of those TEQ key spheres, that would be like a really good opportunity to try to use this active skill. Now, keep in mind that UI Goku can dodge this one. So, because right now it's just an attack, it's not like an ultimate damage attack where it can't be dodged. This is just like a normal attack. And then here's Cumber doing some really, really nice work, and a very, very clutch critical. And I believe this is completely and utterly raw, and I don't think he takes a whole ton of damage here. So by the end of the event, he is completely fine. You know what I mean? And again, you guys have seen, I mean, we got him easily over 20 super attacks. I mean, it did take a while, but by UI Goku, or really by STR UI Goku, he's good to go. And then here we go, the additional normal from INT Goku Black to finish it out. And there you guys have it. Time Travelers completed. And STR Cumber was a fine addition to the team. He wasn't perfect, and it took him a while to build himself up. But once he did, man, you couldn't stop him. We did use all our items, but if you guys liked the video, slap a like on it, please. It helps support my channel. Consider subscribing if you're new, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.